This is the AB4WS radio show. Every week, bringing you the exciting amateur radio news and information happening in the greater Cincinnati, Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana areas.
The AB4WS radio show can be found on the Apple Podcast app or your favorite podcast application. The big news this week is that Dr. Bob Heil, K9EID, became a silent key. In silent waves, the airwaves mourn, a key now stilled, a legend born. Dr. Bob Heil, K9EID his call, in the ether his voice did fall. A valiant fight, a year in span, cancer's battle a brave man ran. Surrounded by love and peace he passed, into the memories his legacy cast. A passion for radio clear and bright, guiding waves through day and night. Everything he touched, for growth, for better, his spirit in service, an unbreakable fetter. Instructional guides, presentations with zest, support for ARRL, in youth he invested. An Elmer to all, a mentor, a guide, his absence now felt, a missing tide. Yet in the silence his impact resonates, a beacon of love, through the ether it radiates. To ham operators across every land, Bob's spirit whispers, in airwaves it stands. So let's key our mics in homage and grace for Dr. Bob Heil, an irreplaceable place. His journey on earth a radiant trail, in every static crackle his story we hail. Though the key is silent, his legacy sings. In the heart of the hobby, his spirit brings wings. Farewell, beloved founder, your journey now ends. But in frequencies wide your essence extends. A silent key, yet your message loud. Dr. Bob Heil, forever proud. In the hobby you loved, your passion remains, an eternal echo in the amateur radio lanes. This was created by Mark Waldrop, KE4WA, on March 1st, 2024. Check out all of Mark's amateur radio poetry at ap777.org. Bob Heil, K9EID, was first licensed in 1956. Amateur radio was the foundation of his careers in the sound reinforcement industry, as well as bringing high-quality articulate audio to amateur radio. Entering the hobby during the best sunspot cycle helped him to focus on designing and building one of the first VHF sideband KW stations. Throughout the years, he has enjoyed designing many antennas, from the 128-element 2-meter J-beam array in 1960 to the latest phased arrays on 40 and 75 meters. He enjoys all the bands, from 160 meters through 2 meters, working many of his friends and especially newcomers to this great hobby. Bob was the impetus for the Ham Nation video podcast, first broadcast on Leo Laporte's Twit network, convincing Leo that the amateur radio video show would be a success. It ran from May 24th, 2011, with the first show with Joe Walsh, WB6ACU, until the end of 2020, a total of 485 episodes on the Twit network. After that, Josh, KI6NAZ, and the Ham Radio Crash Course picked up Ham Nation to continue this great ham radio show today. There are so many contributions that Bob made to amateur radio hobby that we cannot scratch the surface of his accomplishments in this show. He was always sharing his knowledge with other operators, be it at Hamfest, via Zoom presentations for clubs, or personally responding to emails. He was always accessible, and ham radio was not his only strong suit. Bob is recognized in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, Ohio, for his many specialty products that made high-quality concert music sound possible. He is also a very accomplished theater organist. Every ham radio operator mourns the loss of Bob Heil, K9EID. 73, Bob. As reported last week, Mike Murray, KQBL, became a silent key. On March the 9th, from 2 p.m. to 4:30 p.m., there'll be a celebration of life for KQBL at the American Legion Post 318 Patriot Center, 6660 Clow Pike in Cincinnati, Ohio. The Northern Kentucky amateur radio community congratulates Boone County Emergency Management Director Mark Ihrig on his retirement after 30 years of service to Boone County community. Mark has been an avid supporter of amateur radio and emergency management and has worked hand in hand with the Northern Kentucky Aries Group for many years. Mark's replacement is Kevin Vogelpool, who shares Mark's visions of working hand in hand with the Northern Kentucky Aries Group. We congratulate Mark on his retirement and Kevin on his new position. Congratulations to Matt, K4NKU, on obtaining his extra class license. Way to go, Matt. The Cave City Hamfest was a great success in Cave City, Kentucky on March the 2nd. The success was so great that several media outlets covered the event with great articles explaining the Hamfest and the importance of amateur radio in today's world. The Harlan County School Radio Club was there working lots of stations from their setup at the Hamfest, bringing lots of attention to youth in ham radio. Great job by the Mammoth Cave Amateur Radio Club. The Northern Kentucky Amateur Radio Club held its first Simplex Net on Sunday, March 3rd, and it was a great success. Starting at 6 p.m., the first net started with the net control Matt K4NKU, with 9 check-ins throughout Boone, Kenton, and Campbell counties. They're already working on improving the net to allow wider area check-ins to be heard on the simplex frequency of 146.580. The net will be held on the first Sunday of every month at 6 p.m., so get that 2-meter FM station tuned up and join the fun for Northern Kentucky's Simplex Net. On February 27th, the new president of the Pioneer Amateur Radio Club, Michael Flack, presented past president Darrell Epperson, AC4YD, with an award thanking him for his 26 years of service to the club as president. Congratulations, Darrell.
Monday, April 8th, the moon will cast its shadow across 15 states, a couple of Canadian provinces, in a much heralded total solar eclipse. Millions of folks will watch as Luna's shadow races from the Pacific across North America, through Kentucky, Indiana, and Ohio, and on out into the Atlantic in just over 3.5 hours. The path of totality will be about 120 miles wide for throngs of eclipse chasers who will observe this celestial wonder visually, and virtually all of the continental U.S. will see at least a partial eclipse. The eclipse will also be observed on radio. You can participate. The Ham Radio Science Citizens Investigation will research the effects of the eclipse on propagation. And on next week's AB4WS radio show, I'll visit with David Kasdan, Alpha Delta 8 Yankee, MD, PhD. David is adjunct professor of electrical engineering and faculty advisor to Whiskey 8 Echo Delta Uniform, the Case Amateur Radio Club at Case Western University in Cleveland. Learn how you can participate in the Ham Radio Science Citizen Investigation and the workshop and conference they'll be having March 22nd and 23rd. And catch our interview with David, Alpha Delta 8 Yankee, on next week's AB4WS radio show. I'm Mark Stephen Williams, Kilowatt 9 Germany X-Ray 73.
Several emergency coordinators are looking for help with the upcoming solar eclipse on April of 2024, with Union, Hardin, and Marion counties in Ohio being in the path of totality. They are looking for amateur radio operators to help with communications at fire departments, EOCs, hospitals, police departments in Hardin, Union, Marion, and Huron County, Ohio. If you can help out, please contact these coordinators in the county you can volunteer in. In Hardin County, email Craig, KC8FL, at RIDGEWAY_817 at yahoo.com. In Union County, email Ed, KE8ANU, at ed.liddle@gmail.com. In Marion County, email Bill, KE8ECT, at KE8ECT@gmail.com. And in Huron County, email Troy, KE8DRR, at KE8DRR@gmail.com. The X-Warren Group is looking for amateur radio operators to volunteer to help in the Xenia Marathon on April 7th. The race starts at 8 a.m. and expected to end 6 hours later. Amateur radio operators will report on race progress like lead runners, runner density, the tail end, and obviously all emergencies like runner injuries, logistical issues, and assist the course marshals. Volunteers are expected to utilize their 2-meter transceiver with a good antenna and spare batteries. Earphones are recommended. The event will utilize the X-Warren repeater on 147.165 with a PL tone of 123. A loaner transceiver possibly can be provided. If you would like to volunteer for this event, please contact Bob, N8ADO, at n8ADO@woh.rr.com. Steve, NATFD, is looking for volunteers for this year's Flying Pig Marathon, with activities May 1st through May 5th. The volunteer website is up and going at flyingpigmarathon.volunteerlocal.com. Use the password of HAM. If you have questions or problems, reach out to Steve, NATFD, at natfd@fuse.net. The Brunch Bunch will be meeting on March 9th at the Roosters, 5050 Crookshank Road in Western Hills. On March 9th, the MONIX North Group will be meeting at Donato's Pizza, 7912 Paragon Road in Centerville, Ohio, where they'll share information on what they've been monitoring on the air. The Queen City Emergency Net will be meeting on March 14th at 7:30 p.m. at the Red Cross Building, 2111 Dana Avenue in Cincinnati, Ohio. Have you ever wondered what POTA is? Well, Parks on the Air is a program that encourages ham radio operators to get their equipment out to a park and set up and contact as many operators as they can using portable setup which mimics true emergency conditions. Well, if you've never done it, the Northern Kentucky Amateur Radio Club is offering you an opportunity of a lifetime and providing you with the opportunity to join them on March 16th, 2024 at the Big Bone State Historic Site, top of the hill by the campground entrance in Big Bone, Kentucky, for their first Parks on the Air club activity. Many experienced POTA operators will bring their equipment and set up making contacts, showing off their equipment and helping those unfamiliar with ham radio and Parks on the Air and answering all your questions. If you don't have a license, come on out and see what the hobby is all about. Maybe you can get on the air with the control of a licensed operators to experience what ham radio in the park is all about. Guaranteed to be a great time. I hope to see you there. The Northern Kentucky Amateur Radio Club will be meeting on March 18th at 7 p.m. at the Bethesda Community Church, 989 East Mount Zion Road in Independence, Kentucky. Come on out and listen to the expert guest speaker, Steve Lewis, NATFD, who will be helping you with the skills needed to provide communication for community events like the Flying Pig Marathon. Steve is the ARRL Aries DEC for Southwestern Ohio and a seasoned veteran who has coordinated and participated in emergency communications for events like Flying Pig Marathon, the Florence Honor Run, and the Ohio River Paddle Fest. Are you interested in the Northern Kentucky Amateur Radio Emergency Service? Well, come to the meeting of the old Kentucky District 7 Amateur Radio Emergency Response Team, now being retooled into the Amateur Radio Emergency Response Team of Northern Kentucky, which will meet on March 25th at 7 p.m. at the Bethesda Community Church, 989 East Mount Zion Road in Independence, Kentucky. Issues of the past are being corrected and the organization is being re-energized. Come and join in. The Ham Radio Science Citizen Investigation, known as HAMsci, will hold its 6th annual workshop on March 22nd and 23rd, 2024 at the Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland, Ohio. The event is meant to bring together the amateur radio community and professional scientists. For more information, go to HAMsci.org.
Do you know where the action's at?
On Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, the action is on the QCEN 146.670 repeater with a PL tone of 123.0 for the QCEN Amateur Radio Society Tech Talk Net, where all your technical questions and problems are answered by the assembled experts, in addition to the Amateur Radio Newsline for the week and an edited version of the AB4WS radio show is played. So if you're looking for where the action is on Wednesday nights, just tune your transceiver to 146.670 for all the action.
Repeater news.
Have you checked out the 6-meter repeaters in Northern Kentucky? If not, you're missing out on some great fun. Bob, KG4MVN has 2 6-meter repeaters which provide great coverage in Northern Kentucky and greater Cincinnati area. The northernmost repeater is on 53.75 with an input frequency of 52.75 FM, located at the Northern Kentucky University. The south side is located south of Richwood, Kentucky on 53.85 with an input of 52.85 FM. So get those 6-meter rigs out and join in on the fun on the Magic Band FM repeaters.
Hamfests.
On March 10th, 2024, the Northern Ohio Amateur Radio Society brings in Winter Hamfest at the Lorain County Community College, 1005 North Abbey Road in Elyria, Ohio. On March 16, 2024, the Sevierville County Amateur Radio Society sponsors the 2024 Sevierville, Tennessee Hamfest at the Sevier County Fairgrounds, 754 Old Knoxville Highway in Sevierville, Tennessee. On March 17, 2024, is the Toledo Mobile Radio Association Hamfest and Computer Fair at the Owens Community College, 30335 Oregon Road in Perrysburg, Ohio. On April 6th, the Lincoln Trail Amateur Radio Club will host the 46th Annual Elizabethtown Hamfest from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. at 630 College Street Road in Elizabethtown, Kentucky. For more information or to reserve a table, contact ENGINR at Comcast.net or call 270-777-2394. On April 13th, the Cuyahoga Falls Amateur Radio Club will celebrate the 68th Hamfest Electronic and Computer Show from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Emilio & Sons Party Center, 48 East Bass Street in Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio. Check in on the 147.27 or the 444.85 repeaters. April 13th is the Mid-Ohio Valley Amateur Radio Club Hamfest at the Fellowship of Faith Church, 20344 State Route 554 in Bidwell, Ohio. April 27th is the Tusco Amateur Radio Club Hamfest at the Tuscarawas County Fairgrounds, 259 South Tuscarawas Avenue in Dover, Ohio. April 28th is the Athens Hamfest at the Athens Community Center, 701 East State Street in Athens, Ohio.
Are you looking to upgrade your license? Do you have someone else that's interested in the hobby? Here are some upcoming exam opportunities.
The Milford Amateur Radio Club holds amateur radio testing on the third Thursday of each month at 6 p.m. at the Miami Township Civic Center, 6101 Meyer Drive in Milford, Ohio. Please pre-register at milfordhamradio.org. The Dayton Amateur Radio Association has exams frequently. For their exam schedule, email exams.w8bi@gmail.com. On March 9, 2024 at 10 a.m., there'll be an amateur radio license exam session at the Georgetown Police Department, 550 Bourbon Street in Georgetown, Kentucky. Please pre-register at hamstudy.org/sessions/WX4GPS. For more information, contact Ron Malinowski, WX4GPS at 502-542-8252. On March 18th, the Northern Kentucky Amateur Radio Club will hold a testing session at 5:30 p.m. at the Bethesda Community Church, 989 East Mount Zion Road in Independence, Kentucky. Pre-registration is required. To register, contact Mark Volstead, AI4BJ at MVOLSTAD@TWC.com. On April 13th at 10 a.m., the Westchester Amateur Radio Association will be hosting an amateur radio exam session at 10 a.m. at the Voice of America Museum, 8070 Tylerville Road in Westchester, Ohio. Please pre-register at hamstudy.org/sessions/WC8VOA. On April 18th at 6 p.m., the Milford Amateur Radio Club will be hosting an amateur radio exam session at the Miami Township Civic Center, 6101 Meyer Drive in Milford, Ohio. Please pre-register at milfordhamradio.org. On April 20th, the Dial Amateur Radio Club will hold an amateur radio testing session at 9 a.m. at the Fairfield Township Administration Building, 6032 Morris Road in Hamilton, Ohio. Go to www.qsl.net/W8BLV and click on exams. For more information, contact Thurl Golden, KD8VLU at 513-939-4891. Special thanks to this week's content contributors: KE4WA, K9GX, KY4GW, WB8YYS, KD8ZLD, K9HIO, N8LAR, K4NKU.
If you have something you think other amateur radio operators in the area would be interested in, send the information or your recorded audio file attached in an email to ab4ws.radio@gmail.com.
Covering your amateur radio news and information in the greater Cincinnati, Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana tri-state area. This is Jack Prindle, AB4WS in Big Bone, Kentucky.